great leaders don't just solve problems, they build systems that unlock people, performance, and possibility. And our guest today is doing just that at scale. Will Basham, COO of Plains Ponderosa Dairy in Plains, Kansas, talks about cultivating culture and adapting technology in a fast-paced environment that's built on both efficiency and excellence. Hear about this today on the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. This episode is sponsored by Micro Technologies. Micro Technologies has a deep history of conquering challenges to create a safe, wholesome food supply efficiently and profitably. As a brand of NWI Animal Health, Micro Technologies continues the legacy of innovating with you to empower your business. All right. Well, Will, excited to sit down with you here today at Plains Ponderosa Dairy. So your current role here is COO, and that, as you had told me before, means that you are the fire chief of putting out fires right now. Is that correct?
Right. It seems like that. Yes. I joined a little over a year ago as construction was starting. Came in from a local business or a local dairy that was really well ran, great people, love the guys, had been there for my entire career. And it was a very successful, very stable business. And the way it was expanding didn't seem to be a direction that was going to get me off of a plateau that I felt like I was on. So as this opportunity came along, it really became about an opportunity to kind of go prove myself and to see if I could, handle a facility like this. And it's been a ton of fun. It's an absolute blast. The culture here is good. We're pulling levers every single day and trying to make the best of it.
So you came in at a time of the middle of an expansion project. And as you mentioned, you saw opportunity here to do and grow in a different way personally and professionally. But what was it initially that really drew you into High Plains?
The culture is really the first thing. I think we could talk about facility and we can talk about technology, but the culture here is really a magnet. The level of quality in the management team prior without me is really, really good. I'd say we're breaking rules or we're pushing boundaries almost daily. And I think that to me was from coming from an established, very stable business that was growing in other ways. It was just a big opportunity to go see what I'm made of and to see if I could hack it. And so far it's been great. So
you knew Greg Bethard prior.
Yes.
How did you know Greg?
Okay, so I met Greg probably in 2007. He has been a mentor since. He was the nutritionist for the herds that I came from north of here. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the learning that I had outside of my learnings on those sides was from consultants coming through. Greg would be one of them. So we had monthly visits and we walked cattle together. We got to know each other well. We got to know each other's outlook on cattle, on management, on systems. And Greg wasn't at all new to me. The facility type here is I'm a dry lot guy by design. Mm. So cross vents, ventilation, really rotaries. I was a parallel guy. A lot of that's new and fun.
Yeah, so you have stepped into, as you said, exactly what you were looking for, that new challenge for you and your ability to manage many things at once. Cows, people, but also to step into a culture that was a match for where you saw yourself going. And as you just referenced, this facility right here, we're looking, at cross-vent facility, rotaries, different than the dry lot parallel parlor setup that you came from. But let's just take a moment. And if you could explain a little bit on how this is set up, because oftentimes in dairy, when we look at growing and expanding, at least in the Midwest, we're looking at how can we maybe expand to multiple sites. You're kind of like a multi-site model. Yeah. It's just that the sites are a little bit closer together.
Yep. So we will be a 4 rotary site when we're done. And each of those rotaries will have a specialized job, whether it be, working through fresh animals, working through dry offs and other management tasks, or whether it be just, milking cows as efficiently as we possibly can across those 4 rotaries. Each of those decks is attached to a cross-ventilated barn, which are new to me and have a lot of advantages. We are on bedded, we're bedding with digestate. So we're relying on a digester every single day, which that has really great days, and that has some not so great days as far as consistency. And so we spend a lot of time managing and improving that for the cows. So the digester is a big piece of what we do. I don't think it can be ignored. It can really, it's really helped our business, I'd say. And then it also just creates another management responsibility. We have everything on one side. From the heifers get back at 300 pounds or approximately 150 or 160 days old, and they're here until they're no longer viable as milking cows. So that's our facility. Our management team is housed here completely. Everything's on one side, which I think is really cool, as I tour dairies that are fragmented across multiple sites. And I think although we do have to be aware of where we're at on a feed perspective and where we're at on a nutrient management perspective, the overall simplicity that it allows us to operate on one side is meaningful.
And when you say simplicity, do you believe that simplicity is possible because of some core technologies that you've been able to work within the system of managing essentially these four little hubs?
Yeah, when I think of simplicity in terms of why I think this is a more simple site to manage, it's that although we have various milking sites, we still have one heifer yard, essentially, and we still have one management team, and we still have just a few spots we're shipping milk from, and it's all right here, and it's easy to get your arms around in the event of an issue. So I would hardly call this site simple at this point, but I would say there are some inherent simplicities just from a management perspective about having it all in one place.
Talking a little bit more about the technologies,
Yep.
There are some core technologies that allow you to maximize efficiency
Sure.
and take care of cows at a high level, and also really focus on shipping the greatest amount of components that you can out of these doors every day.
Yes.
So can you take a moment and just walk through what are some of the core technologies that you rely on to be able to do what you do here?
So I would say it's all built at this point upon Dairy Comp. We use Dairy Comp in so many of the different software, hardware offerings that they have around the dairy, whether it be our cow card, Parlor Boss, the Dairy Comp platform that we manage reports and data through. Dairy Comp is really what we funnel all of our external technologies through. From there, we use Del Pro technology out of it, flow meters in the Parlor. That data feeds into Dairy Comp to put it into a format that we're all more aware of or more comfortable with. And then what we can do is we can pull that data back out of Dairy Comp and get it into some other media where we can get it into the guy's hands in something that's practical. And then Sense Hub Dairy is really in the middle of everything we do. We have collars on all of our cows. We're making breeding decisions off of that. We're making health decisions off of that. We're managing heat stress based off of that. I mean, it really guides us on our ventilation. It guides us on our curtains. We are taking all of these pieces of data and shoving those even through Dairy Comp and processing them yet again. And then what we do from there, I guess, to kind of step into a data conversation, is we funnel most of it into Dairy Comp. What we don't funnel into Dairy Comp, we funnel into CSV files. And then we have a team of people here who are really data experts. And what they do is they funnel that data into something that we can use. If you take all the data that we're creating daily, which is several million lines of data a day, and you shove that into Excel can't deal with it. It's just too big. It's unwieldy. So Jordan's taken the lead on getting that data into Power BI. Power BI is more of it's more friendly to large databases. And from there, he can get it into visuals that he can feed me, and I can get those to our management teams in terms of how do we respond to these different metrics that are occurring.
So that steps into, as you said, this data conversation. And really, being data driven is in the DNA of High Plains Ponderosa. And so when you talk about being able to take that data, put it through Power BI, which is essentially a software.
Yes, I would call it a database and visualization software. It has a couple of different sides to it.
Yeah, so you found this tool that can help to disseminate this data, to distill it down into meaningful daily action. But part of your job, Will, is to take that data and make it actually mean something.
It does.
And mean something to the people that also are charged with executing it at scale. And so talk a little bit about that. First off, what have been some of the challenges of managing this massiveness of data?
Okay. So from a data perspective, where it really hits me is once we get this data into a usable form, Power BI, whether it be whatever the chart be, whatever metric we're currently looking at, once I get it to there, we can take it, we can sort it, we can slice it, we can really drill down into whether it's lameness, whether it's reproduction, milking performance, all of those different things. And then what I do with it from there is I work with a really awesome team of people. And from there, we just start going through it. We have a lot of meetings. We have a large management team. Being that we have a large management team means we need a lot of communication. So from that perspective, we're taking this data and we're getting it in front of the right people and the right departments and making sure that it's well explained, well understood. And then what do we do with it from here? How do we impact these numbers?
So I want to drill down to that even more because you talk about working through these multiple layers of management. And just, rough estimate, how many people are we talking about that work within these teams here?
Yeah, I would say our manager meetings are a lot of times 20 people. We have multiple meetings, but when we get together, kind of the entire management team, we're 20 people because we're maxing out Apple's iMessage capacity. So we're 20 people pretty easily. One thing I have to point out about our meetings is you guys have all been in a meeting, 20 people or 12 people, where they can just really meander. You can have somebody on a soapbox, you can have, some real conflict, whatever you have in this meeting. But one of the most efficient meeting styles I have accomplished here, our cattle operations manager name is Chris Yon. He's been here for quite a long time, and he's been hugely important in getting the expansion to where it is today. But the first meeting I walked into Chris, I sit down, there's a TV on the wall like this, and there's not data on the TV, there's a clock. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. It's actually not a clock, it's a timer. So I sit down, I start observing whomever is speaking. Chris passes the mic to them, they start, and then the timer starts. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. So 10 minutes later, timer's done. That person is also done. It doesn't matter if he was or he wasn't. Hopefully he prioritized and he had his 10 minutes. And then we go on to the next person. That may sound crude, but when you have, 12 people in a meeting and they have 10 minutes, if you veer from that, you're all afternoon, and we do have to find some ways to be efficient with them.
That was a game changer for you.
Yeah. I think one thing I should mention is we really are trying to lead this thing from a lot of input from the front line. We really do care. It really is important, and it really matters that we get the grassroots, if you will, that contribution into our meetings. And, we don't have every employee in the meeting. It's just not practical, but we for sure are trying to pull in all of their observations through having different levels of the management team involved and really trying to focus our culture around the people that are on the front lines, whether it be milking, whether it be, the cow, the hospital team, wherever it is, taking their input. They are the experts. How can we craft that to improve our business and improve their work here?
Well, okay, you just said that key word again, and you mentioned it, that this was one of the things that attracted you to this place to begin with, culture.
Yeah, for sure.
How would you describe culture here?
I would say very much people-driven. And that has been something, I wouldn't say that my previous background wasn't people-driven, because we had a really great team of people. It was a very small team that I was working with. So it was easier to get to the front lines very, very quickly. But we really are very much people focused. I think we just have a lot better culture altogether, being that we really are attempting to listen, be focused on our people, provide them growth opportunities, provide them a pathway to success. And by that, our business just kind of goes alongside with that growth.
And when you look at that bigger picture, you have personally done some work to really learn and understand communication styles and personality styles. Yes. Talk a little bit about what that's looked like. Was that new for you when you came here, or had you been studying those things for a while?
No, they weren't new. I would say that most people have some familiarity with their disc profile, or by this point in their career, they understand their flaws and how they learn and what they do kind of innately. But what I've learned here is that we do put a focus on trying to understand what makes that person across from you at the table tick, where they really fit in to the whole picture of whether it be personality profiles or learning profiles. Before my first day here, I had updated my disc profile. And then what was unique to me was also my learning profile. So we're all fairly accustomed to learning about how we deal with conflict and stress and those things. But how we learn as individuals had never been something I had been through. Mm-hmm. So Greg's like, hey, do this. We're going to review it. And there were no surprises there for me necessarily. I mean, you provide the data, but it was really neat to see our entire team on a scatter plot of, this team works best and learns best with they're auditory, or these guys are hands-on, or these guys are whichever they fit under. So that was new, and it's really good, and it's meaningful. It's been helpful to me learning people, knowing a little bit about their personalities and their learning styles before we're, into whatever situation we're working through.
So is there a particular example that comes to mind of how you maybe changed your approach to communicating or educating people on your teams?
Yes. I love the cows. But as much as the cows, I like growing the people that are working with the cows, because everybody in that wins. So I do find myself in very humbly, but I do find myself in a teaching role a lot. What I found about myself is I can't do anything without a whiteboard and a dry erase marker. I cannot talk to you hardly. I just have to show it and draw it and list it, and there's arrows and it's madness. And so if, for example, I know that Chris is very auditory, well, I can spend all day on the whiteboard illustrating, putting it up there in that form. And if that's not his style, I'm wasting my time in his. So as many people as we have, as many things we have to do, and as efficient as we want to be, it's just prudent to kind of know how the person across from you learns. And it's so important that they do learn and that I learn back from them. So if they know that they really do need to draw me a picture, they'll draw me a picture, and we both win.
Wow. How has that changed things?
I think just the general awareness to learning styles has changed things, just to be more efficient, more thorough, and continue the buy-in from our teams.
So what I'm hearing from you, Will, I think this is the middle ground between, some people may view some of the personality assessments and all that as, kind of the touchy-feely soft skills. But what you're saying is you can get the hard skills done better because you're understanding the soft side. Is that a correct?
Fully agree with that. Fully agree with that.
Okay, so tell me about your profiles.
Oh, very much visual, completely visual.
Yeah.
You can talk to me all you want, but unfortunately, until I can see it and touch it and do it, it's really hard for me to learn. From a personality profile, I'm a very strong D. I know that about my personality. The most meaning I get out of that is knowing that some people take that as aggression, or they take that as, I can cause collateral damage to a situation just by my strong D nature.
Which your strong D is coming from a good place.
Absolutely.
It's just the delivery of D.
Yes. We all receive it so differently, right? And so wherever you fit on that, it's just important for me to know and kind of tailor my approach to that person. There are people that I can have a really curt conversation with, and they're just as happy as I am. And there are people that if I have a curt conversation with, it's very direct and effective. they're going to wonder if I am satisfied with their work, or if I'm frustrated with something about them, or if, sadly, if I really care about what they're doing and how they feel, which couldn't be farther from the truth. But just trying to be efficient and knowing that's my personality, I have to do better, and I have to understand people, or it's all counterproductive.
Yeah. So this has been a really big eye opener, but also a needle mover in the ability to do what you're doing here. And that's really manage cows, people, data at scale.
Yep.
Well, one thing that you shared with me previously, you talked about managing the exceptions.
Yep.
And as COO, what does that mean to you, and how does that come into your day-to-day here?
Sure. When I think about managing exceptions, what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to manage the interruptions. And the way I'm going about that is generally here through data. I mean, I'm trying to look ahead and get in front of the fires, if you will. I'm normally not as concerned about the fire that I'm watching burning in front of me. Whatever the problem is that's right here in front of us on the table, we can address that. For me, where I get really concerned and have had learnings in the past is, what are the fires that are burning in the background that you just don't know about yet? And that's where we use data and we try to get in front of it. So my routine and how I approach these daily has changed. I'm very much a routine person. I like to see the same cows at the same time, note where the tractor is, note where the guys are, kind of have a general flow of where I'm at relative to different things in the day. To be quite honest with you, since expansion started, I do a terrible job of that. I do hit some key points every day that are non-negotiables for me, but a lot of times I get directed at whatever the fire is or whatever the current priority is, and that's where I go all in, and that's where I spend a lot of my time. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, so what are your non-negotiables?
So I spend the very first part of my day every morning. I'm going to see our fresh cow barn, I'm going to see our dry cow barn, and I'm going to see our milk cow barns. From there, I will see the decks throughout the day. I don't hit all those in the morning, but I'll hit a couple of them first thing, get through our parts room, get through our chemical room, look through the equipment room, and just make sure that there's nothing completely abnormal. And then from there, I can kind of parse off the projects.
So your role as COO is not being chained to this desk that's behind us. Sure. And maybe that's why you don't need a bigger one.
I don't need much of a desk. That's very true. I really don't. You're exactly right. I would say that construction's made being super consistent a challenge, but there are just some things that we have to do every day, and those are mine.
So those are your top priorities for just having a pulse on potential problems. So you mentioned before that you actually really like consistency.
Yeah.
But this is a role that actually has a fair amount of chaos. And I mean that in a way that any other dairy manager can relate to.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just the truth and the reality of this business. Yeah. So how are you managing that?
Good question. I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth.
Go for it.
I think consistency is super important. We have to have a benchmark daily to know what's going on in the parlor, what's going on in the barns, have some real consistency there. With that being said, I fully embrace and love chaos. I do not like really, really stagnant waters. I just can't do it. I need to be involved in a problem. I need to be engaged in solving something, hopefully making something better. I have to have that excitement, if you will. It's a little bit addictive. And I find days where that can be just super consistent, way boring, and not much fun.
Yeah. So that must be another thing that attracted you to being part of coming into an operation in the middle of an expansion period. And of course, it's not just the building part, it's also then the transitioning part of stabilizing these next steps. So this is a couple of years trajectory for you that one thing you can count on consistently is that at least a level of chaos that you're actually really comfortable with.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned before too, Will, that when you are looking for those fires that are just starting to burn in the background, that data is one of the first places you look.
Yes.
Is there an example that comes to mind of how you have looked through certain sets of data or the collaborative data and been able to identify a problem before it became a problem?
Gosh, I think all of our management team does such a good job at that. Whether we're watching weekly reports on hoof health and wart events, and then we say, hey, this is leading us to say that we may not be getting the beds or the vacuums through the barns, or maybe our foot bath has an issue, or we run a lot of exception reports that say, hey, why has this animal not been bred yet? She's of age. She's clearly all these signs are lining up. She's in the right spot. What's going on there? Or, hey, this cow's missed 14 days 14 milkings in a row. Does she have a bad ID? Has she had a felt collar? So I think our entire team is really, really good at grabbing the data daily and weekly and monthly and just running with it. For example, the heifer that's way old and hasn't been bred, that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg, right? And from there, we can dig back and say, hey, what do we have not going on from a bigger perspective? If we see trends, we're trying to pick up on trends and then zoom out and say, okay, how do we get here? And how do we fix this? And I'd say that data and all the technology that we employ make that far more doable than without it, for sure.
Okay, so for a moment, I want you to speak to, do you manage by the cow or by the pen or both?
So one thing that I have really tried to keep in the front of my mind transitioning into this facility is that while we have multiple decks and we have multiple barns and we have multiple management teams, at the end of the day, I really want to think about the individual cow and how she's fitting through our systems. I know systems are important, and I understand that we have to think of our systems in large groups. But at the end of the day, I spend a lot of time thinking, did we calve her out? Did we milk her? Did we get her trimmed? Did we take as good of care of her as we can if we were in a different geography, a different size, a totally different facility? Just coming back to that, how do we make sure that the individual cow doesn't get lost in our system or our scale, that we're still good cow husbandry people?
So when we really look at maximizing the potential of that cow, caring for her and giving her every opportunity to thrive and strive, as you're just describing, there are some things that you've really honed in on here and put intentional focus on in order to maximize efficiency in ways that some dairies haven't looked at yet. One of them is milking speed.
So the milking speed it's really important, and it's at the root of what we're doing. We're pushing limits on milking speed all the time. How we're doing this is we have a tremendous amount of data, and we can identify cows that, disrespective of her production, naturally milk faster than her peers. So while a lot of facilities will find themselves structured on maybe reproductive status or probably many times, sometimes milking frequency relative to that, where we tend to identify as faster milking cows and slower milking cows. And then let's group those cows together, because we can change the speed of the rotary by pen, so by milking speed demographics. And we spend a lot of time learning about her milking speed, getting her in the correct pen, and then we just turn to technology and we say, well, when pen 14 comes in today, that pin's going to index faster than pin 16 because we have the cows sorted accordingly. So we do spend a lot of time and management doing that. Parlor Boss is really helpful to that. It helps us move those cows. That's actually how we're transitioning pins to speeds into our PLCs that manage the controls. All that's tech-based. On the breeding side, that's a little different, but it's really the same thing. Thanks to the technology, we can identify cows that are milking faster. We have good records. Most of the industry has good breeding records. We can then go back to the stud we're working with and say, hey, here's what we're seeing in our data. How do we continue to move this forward to have a more efficient parlor where we can just, bring more value to it and pay for the darn things?
And And when we look at that breeding component of breeding for milking speed, identifying where those commonalities are within the herd and how to produce more of those, talk for a moment about the cow that you're milking here.
Okay. So right now I would tell you we're milking about every kind of cow I've seen. We have a diverse herd of Holsteins. We've added Jerseys. We have some crossbreds mixed throughout it, whether that be, Swedish Reds, or we have a lot of breeds identified here.
I thought I saw a Fleck Vey out on the road.
There are. We may be milking some Angus. So, but where we're going is we're putting F1 sires into everything. So the F1 sires allow us to, for the smallest of the Jerseys, we'll add a little frame. For the largest of the Holsteins, we'll pull a little frame off. The F1s seem to hold some real athleticism, some real hybrid vigor. We can pull it out of our data set every single time. So that's where we're really focused on the F1 sires.
So then to just clarify, when you talk about the F1s, so that means that any animal that I'm looking out over that window behind you onto that rotary platform, what's in her is an F1 embryo. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So 100% F1
100%
embryos?
F1.
That means that this entire herd at some point will be a total F1 operation.
Yes.
So what do you breed at F1 to? You put another F1 embryo
That's
in
the
the
plan.
F1?
If we can tie that animal with good efficiency over the will or faster milking speed, we can really ship a lot we can do a lot for our components.
Yeah. So exciting stuff that you're working on here.
Oh, cool.
And these are the things that are in your wheelhouse, in your hands today. But when we look at the future, you're also keeping your eye on the what's next.
Yep.
And one of the what's next is AI.
Yeah.
And we're not talking artificial insemination.
Right. No.
Not your granddad's AI. No. We're talking artificial intelligence.
Yes. AI has been eye-opening, and I'm probably as late to the party as anyone. But what I will tell you is at this point, I use it every single day. I reference it more than anything I reference. And it's really funny. To me, it's just a Swiss Army knife. Whatever I've got going at the moment, generally speaking, I can bring some value to it from AI. I'm a chat GPT guy so far. There's tons and tons of ways to go at it, and no means an expert. I think AI, machine learning, those things are where I need to spend some time because we have such good data sets. If we can learn how to ask the correct question to AI, I think it's going to really be meaningful to our business. Man, I don't know what its limitations are. I mean, we have found so many uses for it just daily, whether it be purchasing, building graphics, finding a random part, resorting to a manual that is long gone. I mean, those are really the basic things that it can do. You can use it like a Google search, but the cool things that you can do is feed it data sets and ask it to look and run the stats on this and look for trends. And I think that's where we'll get the value by having well-organized, clean data. We will be able to feed it to AI and maybe pick up some trends that we aren't aware of otherwise. And that's where we're focused.
So when you say that, do you believe that there are solutions that are coming through dairy to do that for what you need and what you want? Or do you think that's something you'll create for yourselves?
What I've seen so far is that it's a bit of a hybrid approach. Our culture is well known to be tech addicted or data addicted. So we wind up getting people in front of us that are a lot of times early on in their development, their product development. And so from there, sometimes we can provide some insights and some requests and, well, could you do that? And this would be really cool. And we learn a lot about where the industry's going due to our, I would just say, reputation about data. So yeah, I think that, man, we're going to continue to put our spin on what people are developing and bring it in-house if we can, or ask the questions to the vendors. Hey, can you help us with this? Can you do this? Can AI do this for us? How can you help us? And I mean, it's cool. I think it's going to provide a lot of opportunities for dairies to improve the cow situation, to improve the employee situation, improve the management. The limitations are what we when we ask it and how we ask it, I think.
So with that in mind, Will, what is one area that comes to mind that you would love to have a solution for that isn't quite there yet?
Yeah. What I would like to do is try to find a better communication platform for our dairy. We are super fragmented. We're very much email based. However, on top of that, we have infinite numbers of group texts that are, chiming all day long. On top of that, we will use apps like WhatsApp and others to communicate. Everybody has a different comm channel they prefer. That makes it a little bit challenging to either be very responsive or to holistically look at what you have going on. So one personal goal I have is when we have some time and we're looking for a fresh project, what kind of platform can we build specific to us? Likely it's going to be what's out there that we can tweak or improve upon for ourselves to just have a better communication structure. I've said it a bunch of times in this conversation. We have a lot of managers. We're doing a lot of different things. It takes a lot of communication. What's the best approach to that? And I'm confident AI will be evolved.
When you say that, I think you're speaking to so many other dairy producers that are trying to do the same thing. So exciting to see what could come forth from that vision that you're already starting to create in your mind for what it looks like. And that I have a pretty good instinct it's going to be executed on in the next few years.
I hope so.
So then I'm going to come back in a couple of years, Will. We're going to sit down and you're going to market your solution for all dairies across the country on how to communicate.
Right. Yeah, that one sounds awesome.
So we've covered a lot here today.
Yep.
So if you could give some advice to 20-something-old Will.
Okay. Yeah.
What would you have told him?
It was easier then than now, but I would say keep a very open mind. What I have found here is that, I tend to lean on things I've had success with in the past, or at least things that didn't cause problems in the past. And now that we're so data driven, what I can do is make a very objective decision. It doesn't have to be based on my opinions or my history. So I would say keep an open mind. And the other thing I would say is continue to learn. Follow the tech, follow the computer programs, stick with it. Just stay current with what the industry is doing. Go to the conferences, take the time, make the investment, network as much as you can, and I think they'll do awesome.
What's one conference you never miss?
Oh man, I think that the Western Dairy Management Conference in Reno that's a really great conference. That's one that I would highly recommend.
And anything you read or listen to that helps you keep up on all of these things that you want to be on the leading edge of, the technology, the AI. Where do you get your information from?
There's some cool ways to learn. Jordan's kicked me at some Udemy courses. If you're familiar with Udemy, whether that be Power BI, I think podcasts are super important. I mean, this one and others, kind of find what you're looking for. And then lastly, while I don't read a lot, I'm a big time listener of books. So I, just kind of keep one on your car, right? You can either listen to the radio and kind of waste some time and have some free mental space, or invest back in yourself and listen to some, I love the Elon Musk autobiography. I think that was a lot of learnings in there. As with the Steve Jobs, both of those by Isaacson were really, really good. So just kind of stay plugged in, keep learning.
And you're in Kansas, so I'm guessing you get a little drive time, a little windshield time now and then.
Absolutely.
Will, this has been fantastic. Thank you for just sitting down and sharing your insights, your skills, your talents, and your perspectives on what's going on here today and where it's going in the future. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you very much. This has been awesome.
You just heard from Will Basham, COO at High Plains Ponderosa Dairy. His story shows how the best leaders don't just solve problems, they build systems that unlock people, performance, and possibility. Thanks for listening to this Uplevel Dairy Podcast. Don't forget to follow, rate, and share wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and until next time, keep on growing, keep on learning, and up-leveling your dairy. This episode is sponsored by Micro Technologies. Microtechnologies has a deep history of conquering challenges to create a safe, wholesome food supply efficiently and profitably. As a brand of MWI Animal Health, Microtechnologies continues the legacy of innovating with you to empower your business.